Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to do Creator School episode 3, and it's an exciting one. So for starters, we're going to cover two topics. We're going to cover glow, and we're going to cover level optimization. And to boot, we got an interview with Cirtrax, and he will talk about both of those topics, glow and level optimization. So I hope you're ready. I hope you've been learning a lot from the series. If you haven't watched the series yet, I've got 2 episodes out on colors and block design, so go check those out. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so I figured I would start out by jumping straight into some practical examples of how to use glow in your block design. So the first thing I'm going to cover is glow inside of a block. That's a pretty standard, easy trick, and you can add some cool shading to emphasize the colors and maybe even add some color gradients to your blocks. So I've already set up a simple block design here. By the way, this is not the block design tutorial, so I'm not gonna be judged on how awful this block design is. So anyway, what we're going to start off doing is I'm going to put the small glow right here. So in the editor, it's the smallest one here, and I'm going to set it to go off the background. So let me go ahead and set that in here. So with this block design, I'm only going to set around the inside brick blocks here. Also, I messed up and did not put it on somewhere, so let's go ahead and set that right on here real quick, just to save some time here. Let's go ahead and take out the editor for here. Okay, so copy from the edges here. Copy and paste that there. And whammo, we've got a little bit of glow on the inside of those blocks, so that looks pretty good. Alright. The next example I want to show you is about glow on the outside of your blocks. So with glow on the outside of your blocks, this is really just to highlight the outline of your blocks and kind of make it stand out compared to all of your other air deco, your backgrounds, and all that good stuff. And this doesn't tend to be as bright as glow that's inside the block, and this is just more of a nuance, like a polishing type thing I would add. So I'm going to go ahead and use the biggest glow we have here, and I'm going to go ahead and let's go to layer 5 with this. Make sure you're using different editor layers, that way it's works well for you and it's easy to organize. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up with a different color. I'm just going to do copy blending of the background, and I'm just going to do a super desaturated background color and it's going to be a lot brighter too. And then I'm going to plate this on the block, and then I'll show you what that looks like. So let's go ahead and paste that around. So add one piece here. Okay, so as you can see, if you look at that, that's really bright. So what I want to do with that color, it's color 11 here, I'm going to reduce the opacity down quite a bit, just so it's more of an accent. See, you can already see that looks much better. Maybe even reducing the opacity a little bit more would help, but as you can see, it's more of a highlight to the outline versus just spamming glow, and it looks much better. See, it's barely visible, but it just adds that little bit of, like, makes your block stand out against the dark. Especially this works really well in dark backgrounds to have your blocks kind of pop. So I'll remove it, so that's what it looks like without it, and then I'll go ahead and do that, and then it just gives it a little bit more. And if that's not enough for you, increase the brightness up a little bit. But for these outline glows, I would not increase the brightness or the opacity a whole lot here, just because, like I said, it's supposed to be like a highlight versus the main feature of the block, right? So that makes it stand out against a dark background. So then the next thing I want to talk about is going to be let's go ahead and do shadows, because that'll allow us to stick with the block. So as you can see, with the structuring I've got here, shadows allow you to give the perception of depth on your block without having to really do a whole lot. You just add like a black glow or gradient on the outside of, so like I would do like this part right here, and this part would appear above this whole base, I guess this whole big square. These kind of look like they're resting on top of that square. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add black glow to the outside of these to make it look more like a shadow, and it'll appear on top. It's another great way to add depth to your block design. So let's go ahead and just do layer 6. That's fine. I'm going to do this with the let's go ahead and do the medium size glow on this. We'll see how that looks. I'm not exactly sure if that's what I'm going to end up using for this or not. I might have to reduce it to the miniature glow because this might be a lot. Let's go ahead and paste that in here, and then I'm gonna have to adjust the layer too. See, this is where it gets kind of tricky with your layering. When you have a bunch of objects right here, you want to put it above you know, all of your block design, but it needs to go below your outline. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put it on T210, and that should be above all of my block design, but then I'm going to have to go back and adjust. As you can see, it does give that appearance that it is on top of the other block, which is great. And it's up to you. Personally, I'll zoom in here so you can see a bit better. Personally, I don't like this this overlapping the outline right here. But that, like I said, it's completely up to you. So in the instance I want to have that overlap the outline, I'll leave it as is. But if I don't, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just move this up to a different layer. So I think if I can remember how the layering rules with glow works properly, that should do it. If not, I'll have to go up a full T layer. Yeah, so that does it for me. And as you can see, the glow looks much better. It's got the shadow here, and it's over the top of that glow we added earlier, and it just adds a lot of depth here. It makes the blocks much more interesting. The next thing I want to go ahead and talk about is lasers. Everybody loves lasers. You can't have lasers, are just amazing, obviously. So let's go ahead and make a basic laser here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, well, like I said, super basic laser. We'll just do the biggest glow possible. And let's go ahead and just make this background. What color is this? Background blended, high brightness, plus 60 saturation. I don't really want that saturation, so like I said, just create a new color real quick. Off the background, we'll just jump the brightness up by 20 points, and we'll also do the saturation by 10 points. Opacity, fine. Okay, so it looks like we're good there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this, and then whoops, copy the values real quick, and then I'm gonna put a cap on the laser, and then I'm also gonna put a bottom piece on the laser like that. Okay, so the next thing you want to do, so you have just a glow line right here. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see a bit better. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything on the left side, and I'm going to do one normal size movement. So the first arrow, the single arrow, I'm going to do one size over, so that kind of gives me a darker line in the middle. And if you want a thicker laser, you can do that, but it kind of looks weird. It's got that line down the middle. So what I tend to do here is I'll go ahead and undo that. So I'll do a mini step. So the small arrow this way, one that way, and I'll do a small step, one that way. That way it still stays centered, but you still get that line in the middle. So that's a basic laser. Okay, so these can get much more complicated. Like I said, lasers are a lot of multi-purpose use. They add just great ambiance to the levels. Can't go wrong with lasers. But I will warn you, the more complicated your lasers, the more objects they will use up, and they really do eat up your objects quickly. So I would just, you know, be mindful of that. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is I'm going to do another. This is a pro tip that I like to do. I really like this next trick with glow a lot. I use it quite often. I think it really makes blocks look good, if depending on your style, of course. So what we're gonna do, it's called a neon outline. And I'm gonna go ahead and just find a new layer here. And what we're gonna do is you take your mini glows and you kind of just put them both front and back way around the outside of your and inside of your object. Like that. And then I'll corners, and then I'll go ahead and do these as well. And you'll recognize these layers, so go ahead and do the same over here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and select the it's the outside one. So go ahead and select the outside. Now I'll go 2 big steps down, and that'll give us a nice effect. And I also have to set this to layering. And I'll take the right ones. I'll set the right one. It looks like the top. I think the bottom is the right one too. No, it's definitely the top one. I started over. Anyway, so you do the top one. You move the one on the outside 2 baby steps down, and as you can see, the same thing it does with the lasers. It creates a nice overlap effect. And so I'll go ahead and select all these, and I will do 2 baby steps towards the middle on the outside glow pieces. 2 baby steps towards the middle on the outside glow pieces. So if I go back to general, now you can see it gives you a really nice like neon kind of effect here. And so, like I said, there are situations where this works out really well, and other situations where not so well. So in this situation, on the outside of the main block, I'm not, like, it looks definitely cool, especially with the outline glow we added, but I think it would be best served if it was on the inside of the block. So let's go ahead and, you know, copy values here. Let's go ahead and add this glow, or this neon glow, to this block right here. I think it's really gonna take a lot to this. Alright, so let me go ahead and delete these pieces. Alright, so that should be good. And if we look at that, it adds a really, really nice effect to those inside blocks. I'm going to go ahead and do the corners as well here, because as you can see, the corners are still missing their pieces. And this is where it gets kind of tricky, because if you do, because of how these are inset, if you do the wrong opacity for these corner pieces, it doesn't look quite right. So you just kind of have to play around with it. So like that one looks fine, but like if you do that one, it like stands out. It's just slightly too bright. So what we're gonna do is, this is gonna be another color. I'm gonna copy color 13 blending, and then I'm just gonna do reduced opacity to like 80% and just see what it looks like. If I let go of that, that looks pretty much like it matches up there. And like I said, pro tip, I use this effect quite often, and it just looks really nice, but I will warn you, it does eat up your object. See, that adds a really, really nice neon effect. Another trick that I want to cover, we'll use this same block they were using earlier. I want to highlight some of the features in this block, and I'm going to use the circle glows to do that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take this medium circle glow. Okay, so let's place that. This is going to be B2, so like I said, you just have to mess with layering. So I'm putting this on top of these detail pieces right here. So if I do that, it gives it, you know, a nice highlight feature there. So like I said, if it's removed like that, it's kind of bland, and then if I add these glows, it highlights those blocks a little bit. The possibilities with glow are endless, I would say. And it's a really great tool, but like I said, it can be overdone, so just watch out for that, and it will eat up a lot of your objects if you're not careful. So okay, and so one last trick I want to show you. This is definitely another more advanced tip with glow. You can create some really, really good color gradients. The first block is the largest piece of glow. So in the glow tab, it's this last one here. It's got the most gradient there, and you'll also need the solid color block with no hitbox. And so what you want to do, you can, the 2 ways I use this the most is, one, I will put it inside of a block to give the block it looks like it fades into a color, right? So it will fade from like the light color to a dark color. And then another way I use this is for screen overlays. Like if you want to have the edges of the screen be bright, and it just kind of like fades out from super bright to super dark. And then another way, use it if you want to have it come up from the bottom to the top. It just adds really good, really good ambiance effects to a level. So I'll start off by showing you how it works, putting it inside the block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to this block is 3 tall, so I'm going to take this glow piece. I'm going to make right next to each other. I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3 like stair steps, and then in the blank spots here, I'm going to copy and paste just a solid block. In the next step, I'm going to select this first tower here and select it all. I'm going to move it over, and then I'm going to select all of that first and second tower combined. I'm going to scoot it over 1, and then I'm going to select all of that combined. So now I've got this tower, and you can see it fades from a bright purple down to a dark purple. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this over here, and I'm going to copy and paste that in here like so. As you can see, it's super bright. So most of the time I'm going to reduce the opacity. We're going to take this down to about 70 and see where that looks. Okay, so as you can see, it's really dark here at the bottom, and or really bright at the bottom, and it kind of gets darker as it goes up. But let's reduce the brightness just a tad more. Let's go to like 50 and see what that looks like. Okay, so as you, like I said, it adds a really nice effect. Like I said, light at the bottom, dark up the top. So you can't really tell it's up at the top, but you can definitely tell down at the bottom there's some gradient. It's just small details like that to take your creations to the next level. And so the next thing you can do is you can kind of do screen borders with glow. So I already have a custom one that I like to use, so let's go ahead and select that. As you can see here, it's wide enough that it will cover both the front and the back of your screen if you set this up to a moving object. And so I'm just going to set this to this color and deselect it, and so it'll if we hit save and play here, let's set this to also down to the top of everything. Well, so I'm just going to set that to group 1, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab this block here, and I'm going to scoot over and move down so you can just over it, and then I'm just going to let's set block over here so we can see this action, and then with group 1 I'll set this to a move trigger. Like I said, we'll have it not ever select player as sometimes that's texture. Okay. So I think right here for move player. Right, this is going to be a little weird. Oh, so let's see that looks like. Alright, so I'm just going to go over one spot, it looks like. I'm just going to move this over one side. Save it again. So as you can see, it adds a really nice overlay on top of your screen. I'll play it one more time just to show you. So you can see on the edges of your screen, it's a nice purple glow coming off, and you can do that with any color, and it adds a really nice effect. That's definitely a more advanced tip, but just something you can do with glow to add a really nice effect to your level. All right, so I think that's going to be it as far as glow tips go. I covered a lot here, so hopefully you guys can rewatch the video, slow it down just to, learn the different techniques, and then take them, use for yourselves, and make some awesome creations. So next up, we're going to do our interview with Cirtrax, and he's going to give you some more tips on how to use glow properly, and also some tips on level optimization. Is there a such thing as too much glow?
Yes, there is such thing as too much glow. There is such thing as too much glow due to the fact that people use it in such excess to make it a detail, which is something I don't recommend with most creators. Do not make glow into a detail, make it into an accent. That's
definitely, yeah, that's a pro tip right there. I need
pro tip, use brighter glow, not more glow.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. There you go. You heard it here, chat. Bright glow is the way to go in 2020. All right, so question number 2, what is the best way to put glow on like a curved line or pretty much anything that's not a square?
Use the circle glows. That's the best thing I can tell you.
Is it possible to do the properly decorate with glow the slopes, not the 45-degree angle, but the 30-degree angle or the 15-degree angle?
Oh, the 33.5 degree angle?
Yeah. Is it possible?
You can get it to near perfection, but you can't exactly do it per perfection. But there is a way of doing inner glows with that. If you go to the slopes tab and you find those, you can find colored variants of those, and you can manipulate those to make them look like glow pieces that don't break.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I'll send a screenshot.
Yeah, a screenshot would be super helpful. That's a 200 IQ move. Whoa. That is a 200 IQ move. I've never thought to do that before. Huh.
Yeah, because I think I saw someone use them and I was like, oh wow, that's actually really smart. Let me use that myself.
Yeah, for sure. Man, that is opened my eyes completely, because I've always been on I've looked on so many different YouTube for trying to figure out how to do that, because it's always off. And like, I know when you're actually playing the level, you might not notice it.
You won't notice it if you're playing in game, but if you're just in the editor trying to mess around with it, it's going to be noticeable.
And then the last question around glow I have typed up here: is there any nuances or tricks, more pro tips, I guess, that you'd have for beginner creators when it comes to glow that you've discovered in your experience creating so far?
Another thing you can do with glows, you can, like, if you know how to mix them well with the glow balls, you can make really nice accent colors. Like, I can probably make a GIF, for example, and show you here with a design I've done.
Okay. Yeah.
Or two designs, actually.
Sure,
Let me make a GIF really quickly for chat to see.
Yeah, they would enjoy that. All the creator tips. So this was with that technique you were just talking about with the glow balls and stuff?
Yeah, if you use glow balls correctly, like if you scale them up and mesh them where it doesn't look, where they're not overlapping too badly.
Yeah.
Then you can get some nice color gradients without having to use like actual like multiple glow pillars and stuff like that. And another recommendation for most creators: do not use glow pillars, because that's how you lag a level.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a question for you then. How many objects can a level have before it needs a low detail mode, do you think?
Personally, if it goes over personally for me, I always add an LDM even if my level's like under 20k personally.
Okay.
Or at 20k, but if you want to range to start adding an LDM, my suggestion is around 30k.
30k. Okay. Yeah.
But a word of advice: optimize as you go.
Yeah. Okay, so here another question then around the object limit. What do you think the max number of objects should be in a level? Like before, it's just like, okay, this level is obviously over decorated, needs optimized.
I can't really say like there should be a limit personally per se, because you have so many types of different creators that just like make such outstanding stuff.
Sure. Okay.
I think the 80k object limit itself is fine alone. Due to the fact that it's manageable, you can work around that. Yeah. And if you do go over the limit where it's like you're like at 90k or something, then that's understandable as well.
Okay. Okay. So when it comes to optimization, what is let's say when you're adding to the high detail mode or whatever, what do you usually add first? Like, do you just add like your air deco, your ground, your spike deco?
Oh, I never touch my grounds or my air deco. The first thing I add is effects.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Effects is always the first thing, because that's just like the easiest thing to do.
Sure. Sure.
Then if I had to, it'd probably be certain heavy glow object things that I have to use. Okay. And then after that, well, that's really it, because like most of my other stuff I just don't add to the LDM, because usually the level just runs well as it is.
I think that's about it for level optimization. I mean, we covered a lot there. So it's same kind of question with the glow. Any nuances, tricks, like just pro tips for beginners when it comes to level optimization?
Optimize as you go, and another thing I'd suggest is like look at other levels that have decent optimization and don't lag as much, and see how they're optimized usually. Okay. A great example of how I could say that as well is it's going to be probably the most generic answer you hear in like history, but it's Slam by Rafer.
Okay.
Well optimized, very well optimized.
So that's really all the questions I have. So do you have any like final thoughts comes to optimization or glow?
Use less glow.
Use less glow.
Use more outstanding details, and optimize your levels so that way I can actually play them on my phone.
Well, there you have it, chat. Make them so they're mobile optimized. Okay. Okay. Alright guys, just wanted to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you really learned a lot on today's episode of Creator School. I know I did. Interviewing Cirtrax was a great opportunity, and he was really a good guy to work with, so glad we got that chance on the channel. So if you like the video and you enjoy the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so I can continue to make videos like this and help you guys out become the best creators that you could possibly be. Anyway, that's it for ARwooly, and I'm signing off. I'll see you guys later.